Proverbs 13:24, Psalms 118 verse 18, Jeremiah 30.
915-967-7110. You could send an email to shmng2002@gmail.com or visit our website www.shm.ng. Jesus is Lord.
7 days a week.
High Power 102.7 FM, the voice that echoes through every home, every heart. From the streets to the studio, will bring you real talk, real music, and real moments. We are not just a station, we are a movement. High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
Edition of In the Paper, your trusted guide for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. We shall be previewing headlines from the Hope newspaper this morning, the Daily Post, the Daily Trust, the Guardian newspaper, and the Nation's newspaper this morning. My name is Florence Ibhareman. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is In the Papers, your daily drive to news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Beginning from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have PDP unveils Ogun deputy governorship candidates. Yes, still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have 2 arrested over fake alcohol production in Anambra State. Still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Kogi begins digital school consensus to improve education planning. Still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have federal government gets tough, begins trial of over 600 terrorism suspects. Yes, still on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Oshun declares Wednesday public holiday for Islamic New Year. Kogi One School against lavish graduation sign-out ceremony. And that headline is coming to you from the Punch newspaper this Tuesday morning. Away from the Punch newspaper this morning and now to the Guardian newspaper, where we have Niger activates surveillance after fresh polio cases. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is still in the papers, your daily drive to news, making major headlines in today's newspaper. Beginning from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Ondo Governor urges urgent revival of dormant Ondo oil field. Now the details. The Ondo State Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, on Monday called for urgent actions to revive the long-dormant oil asset in the state, warning that a delay in investment decision and infrastructural gap must be addressed if Nigeria is to meet the crude oil production targets. He made the appeal during a courtesy visit to the Sahara Energy Group to the governor's office, where discussion centered on reactivating an oil field that has remained inactive since 1998. The engagement also aligned with Nigerians' broader objective of raising crude oil output for about 1.6 million barrels per day to 2 million barrels per day. Ayedatiwa said Ondo State must have a stronger position in national oil production, stressing that its oil asset is properly developed. If oil asset is properly developed, it could significantly boost outputs. For details of that, see the Hope newspaper with this headline. Ondo governor urges urgent revival of dormant oil field in Ondo State. Yes, away from the Hope newspaper this morning and now to the Punch, where we have state declares a public holiday. Now the details. Several state governments across Nigeria have declared Tuesday, June 16, 2026, a public holiday to commemorate the beginning of the Islamic New Year, Hijrah 1148 AH, urging residents to use the occasion to pray for peace, unity and national development. In Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde declared Tuesday a work-free day and congratulated the Muslim Ummah who witnessed the new Islamic year. In a statement issued by Special Advisor on Media, Sulaiman Olariwaju, the governor urged Muslims to pray for peace, unity and prosperity of Oyo State and Nigeria. Makinde also called on residents to remain security conscious during the celebration and report suspicious activities to security agencies through the state emergency number 615. In another statement through the Commissioner for Information, Dotun Oyelade, the government said the holiday was in recognition of the significance of the Hijrah, which marks the migration of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina in 622 AD. In Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf approved a public holiday to mark the commencement of the Islamic New Year. The circular issued by the Office of the Head of Civil Service stated that the holiday was granted in recognition of the significance of the Islamic calendar and Kano's long-standing tradition of observing the beginning of the Hijrah year. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Punch newspaper with this headline: State declares public holidays. Still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Kogi begins digital school consensus to improve education planning. Now the details. Education stakeholders in Kogi State have pledged full support for the 2025-2026 annual school consensus census as the State Ministry of Education officially launched the exercise on the federal government digital Nigeria Education Management Information System portal. The pledge was made on Monday during a stakeholder sensitization meeting at the Government House, Lokoja, ahead of the commencement of the census on June 24. The meeting, attended by education agencies, former commissioners, NGOs, media practitioners, religious leaders, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, focused on preparations for statewide data capture and the migration from manual to digital reporting. The Commissioner for Education, Wemi Jones, said the census provides statistical evidence for education policy formation, planning, and resource allocation. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Kogi begins digital school census to improve education planning. We're still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have federal government gets tough, begins trial for over 6. Federal government on Monday commenced another phase of terrorism with levity. The prosecution is being led by Fagbemi, while the Director General of the Legal Aid Council, Aliyu Abubakar, head the defense team. The trial, taking place simultaneously in several courtrooms, are expected to last 1 week. Some of the judges handling the case include Justice Binta Nyako, Emeka Nwite, Musa Lima, James Omotosho, Obiora Igwatu, and Ekerete Akpan. At least 58 suspected terrorists were listed for trials before Justice Nwite on Monday. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Federal government gets tough, begins trial of over 600 terrorism suspects. We are still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have NYSC assures Jigawa core members of safety during service year. The National Youth Service Corps on Monday gave the 2000 Batch B Stream 1 corps members a firm promise of safety and a peaceful service year from camp to posting areas across the nooks and crannies of Jigawa State. Punch Online observed that the assurance came as the batch was sworn in amid tight security at a time when the NYSC recently suspended swearing-in ceremony in some states due to rising insecurity concerns. It was gathered that the NYSC management had suspended similar ceremony in Niger State following security threat that dominated public discussion and social media space nationwide in recent times. Speaking exclusively to Punch Online on Monday, shortly after the swearing-in ceremony held at the Yakubu Gowon NYSC orientation camp, Jigawa State, the state NYSC coordinator Mohammed Baba said the scheme was determined to ensure a peaceful service year for all corps members posted to the state. According to him, the registration of the 2000 Batch B Stream 1 corps members is still in progress. Given further details, the coordinator explained that security measures were deployed before the corps members arrived, during camping and after posting, as well as the local government areas across Jigawa, adding that the scheme worked closely with security agencies to cover all phases. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: NYSC assures our core members of safety during service year. We are still talking education. Kogi State won schools against the lavish graduation and sign-out ceremony. And the headline is coming to you from the Punch newspaper this morning. Now the details. The Kogi government has restated its ban on excessive graduation ceremony in nursery, primary and junior secondary schools, warning that any school that violates the directive will be shut down. The government also reaffirmed its ban on sign-out ceremony by undergraduates after their final semester examination across the state. The Commissioner for Education, Wemi Jones, issued the warning on Monday at stakeholder sensitization meeting on the 2025-2026 Kogi State Annual School Census exercise at the Government House, Lokoja. Jones has said the policy took effect at the start of the current academic session to reduce financial pressure on parents. He expressed concern that graduation parties are now held for pupils moving from nursery to primary 1. The commissioner clarified that only students completing SS3 and moving to university are allowed to hold a formal celebration in the form of the traditional speech and prize given day. He warned that schools organizing ceremony for pupils moving from nursery to primary 1, primary 6 to GSS1, or GSS3 to SS are now infringing the state law. The commissioner said enforcement mechanisms are in place, saying thousands of letters signed by his office have been sent to all schools and he has visited schools within and outside Lokoja. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Kogi won schools against lavish graduation and sign-out ceremony. We are still on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have key Kingsmen urge or your APC governor candidate to prioritize traditional role over political ambition. Now the details. Aremo Development Forum in Ibadan North Local Government Area of Oyo State on Monday urged a member representing Oyo South Senatorial District and 2027 governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Senator Sarafaddin Ali, to prioritize traditional role over political ambition. The statement, jointly signed by the forum's president Alimi Alao and secretary Adebayo Kazim, respectively, while congratulating Ali on his promotion as Ekeri Balogun of Ibadan land, described the elevation as a major turning point that should naturally place him above partisan politics and position him as a custodian of Ibadan land's rich cultural heritage. The forum urged him to devote himself fully to the new traditional responsibility rather than his gubernatorial ambition. A Punch Online reports that Osi Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Isioye Dada, died on Friday, June 12, 2026, during a forecasted illness. Until his death, Oba Isioye Dada was Osi Balogun of Ibadan land. His death has created room for the promotion of chiefs and high chiefs on the Balogun line, including the governorship candidates of the APC in the state. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Kingsmen urged or your APC governor candidate to prioritize traditional roles over political ambition. We are still taking headlines and news from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have a IG directive. Police launch a crackdown on unregistered plate number. Now the details. The Nigerian Police Force has commenced a coordinated enforcement exercise across the country, targeting vehicles operating with covered, obstructed, altered, defaced or unregistered number plates as part of effort to strengthen security and curb criminal activities. The exercise, which follows a directive by the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, is aimed at enhancing public safety, improving vehicle identification, and preventing criminals from using untraced vehicles to evade detection. In Kogi State, the police command said it had begun a statewide operation against vehicles with cover, obstructed, unauthorized, defaced, or missing registration number plate. The statement issued on Monday by the command spokesperson ASP Afusat Oyiza said the Commissioner of Police Nasiru Kankaofi directed all area commands, divisional police officers, and traffic personnel to ensure full compliance across the state. She warned that vehicles found in violation would be impounded and subjected to investigation in accordance with the extant law. Oiza urged motorists, transport operators, and fleet owners to ensure that their vehicles displayed valid and clearly visible number plates at all times and that all relevant documents are up to date and available for inspection. She described the exercise as a proactive security measure designed to improve crime prevention and strengthen security operations across the state. For details of that news, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Police launch crackdown on unregistered number plates. Yes, away from the Punch newspaper and now to the Nation's newspaper this morning, where we have Tinubu to justice, be fair and fearless. Now the details. President Bola Tinubu has urged justice of the Court of Appeal to be fair and firm, urging them to dispense justice without fear or favor. The president spoke yesterday at the inauguration of the new Court of Appeal Abuja Division Building Complex, where he reaffirmed his administration's commitment to the rule of law. Represented by the Vice President, Senator Kazim Shettima, Tinubu said, Nigeria asked only one thing of you: let justice be swift, fair, and blind to status, tribe, religion, or wealth. The new facility has 2 large courtrooms and 8 additional court halls. It is expected to speed up the hearing of cases, reduce judicial delay, and improve access to justice for residents of the Federal Capital Territory. Tinubu praised the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, for delivering the project after receiving the assignment in May 2024. He said contractors were mobilized within months and the work completed on schedule. He described the complex as a proof of his administration's commitment to strengthening the judiciary, empowerment local firm, and promoting local content development. He also commended Visible Construction Limited for executing the project to a high standard. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Nation's newspaper with this headline: Tinubu to justice, be fair and fearless. Yes, away from the Nation's newspaper this morning and now to the Guardian newspaper, where we have Nigerians anticipate a drop in fuel price as US-Iran ink peace deal. Now the details. Nigerians are anticipating a drop in the pump price of petroleum products following a decline in the global crude oil price after the United States, US, and Iran reached a peace agreement to end months of heightened geopolitical tension. The global economy has so far avoided a slowdown despite more than 3 months of conflict in the Middle East. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has said while welcoming the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz following the ceasefire agreement, but warned that the risk of growth remains high if disruption to energy supplies resume. The development, which centers on a memorandum of understanding between both countries, is expected to restore stability to global oil supply routine, particularly with the planned reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the strategic waterway through which a significant portion of the world's oil passes, has been at the center of disruption that pushes crude price upward in recent months. Announcing the framework deal, the U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that the Strait of Hormuz would reopen toll-free along the lifting of the U.S. naval blockade in Iranian port. The formal signing of the agreement is scheduled to take place in Switzerland on June 19. Although details remain spare and uncertain persist regarding the durability. For details of that story, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline: Nigerians anticipate a drop in fuel prices as US-Iran ink peace deal. Yes, still on the pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning, where we have these headlines. Families in agony has abducted your pupils and teachers spend 1 month in captivity. Now the details. Exactly 1 month after dozens of school children and their teachers were abducted from the Esiele and Yowota community in Orire local government area of Oyo State, the grief of the victims' family is getting severe despite repeated reassurance from the president, governor, and other members, emirates of their safe return. As the outrage, protest, and campaign to bring back our children once, while the rest of the country moves on to the next abduction news. It is 30 days of unimaginable pain in the heart of the Oyo National Park forest, where the captives are believed to be held and exposed to harsh inclement of a raining season. For the parents, each passing day stretches an already unbearable agony. What began on May 15 as another record in Nigerians' grim abduction ledger has now become a slow-burning humanitarian crisis, one that has emptied classrooms, silent villages, and left families suspended between hopes and despair. In Orire, life has not simply been disrupted, it has been fractured. The communities where the attack occurred now wears a permanent mourning clock. Residents describe an atmosphere early similar to a biblical lament, which quotes, a voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning of Rachel's weeping for her children. For details of that story, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline. Families in agony as abducted or your pupils and teachers spend 1 month in captivity. Yes, away from the Guardian newspaper and now to the Sun newspaper, where we have Okpebolo condemns abduction of housewife, orders immediate security actions. Now the details. The Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebolo, has condemned the abduction reported at the village market along the airport road, Benin City, describing it as unacceptable and a direct attack on innocent residents. The governor has before directed the Edo State Commissioner of Police to immediately commence a swift and coordinated investigation in the incident in view of securing a safe release of the victims and arresting those responsible for the attack. He warned that Edo State and the security or disturb the peace of the state. He urged residents of Benin City and the people of the state to remain alert and report any suspicious movement to the nearest police station, stressing that timely information would support the ongoing police operations. Besides, he reaffirmed that the state government would not relent until those responsible are apprehended and made to face the full weight of the law. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. Okpebolo condemns abduction of housewife, orders immediate security actions. Yes, still on the pages of the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have a talk on 2027. Former governorship candidate fought reliance on Tinubu, Obi, and Kwankwanso. Now the details. Former Anambra State governorship candidate and founder of the violent movement, Valentine Ozigbo, has urged Nigerian youth to stop placing their hopes solely on established political figures ahead of the 2027 elections, warning that the country's future cannot depend entirely on the same generation of leaders. Ozigbo made the remark during an interview on Arise Television, on Arise News, where he reflected on Nigerians' political future and the role of young people in driving meaningful change. Ozigbo said young Nigerians must take greater responsibility for shaping the country's future rather than waiting for prominent politicians to solve national problems. According to him, young people have the critical role to play in rebuilding the country and should not rely excessively on politicians from the older generation. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. Former governorship candidate fought reliance on Tinubu, Obi, and Kwankwanso. We are still on the pages of the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have IGP reassures police officers on reforms. Now the details. Inspector General of Police IGP Olatunju Diso has reassured officers and men of the Nigerian police force on that ongoing policing reforms, including discussions on the proposed establishment of state police, will not determine their career, welfare, pension, or accrued benefit. The IGP gave the assurance yesterday in Jigawa State, where he visited Governor Umar Namadi, who attended the 8th exclusive executive committee meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council in Duse. He also addressed officers and men of the Jigawa State Police Command. In a statement, the Force Public Relations Officer DSP Anthony Placid said the IGP Disu explained that the proposed state police reform is aimed at strengthening Nigerians' policing architecture while preserving a strong national policing institution capable of addressing interstate and national security threats. He urged personnel to remain professional and disciplined, warning that the force would maintain a zero-tolerance stand against corruption, extortion, abuse of office, and other forms of misconduct. At the Northern Traditional Ruler Council meeting, chaired by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Abubakar, the IGP commended the council for its continued role in promoting dialogue, peaceful coexistence, and national cohesion. It stressed that critical roles of the traditional rulers in intelligence gathering, conflict resolution, and early warning mechanism, noting that collaboration between traditional rulers and security agencies remains vital to addressing insecurity across the northern Nigeria. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline: IGP reassures police officers on reforms. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is still in the paper, your daily drive to news, making major headlines in today's newspaper. Away from the Sun newspaper this morning and now to the Vanguard, where we have JAM releases 2026 UTME mop-up result. Now the details. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released the results of the 2026 Unified Tertiary Examination mop-up exercise. JAMB Public Communication Advisor Fabian Benjamin announced the release in a statement on Tuesday today, saying candidates who participated in the examination can now check their results through the board's board-approved result checking channel. Benjamin said the board would immediately commence the ranking of candidates following the release of the result. The mop-up examination was conducted on June 13, 2026 to provide another opportunity for candidates who were biometrically verified for the main UTME but were unable to sit for the examination due to technical glitches, biometric verification challenges, and other disruption at their examination centers. For details of that news, see the Vanguard newspaper with this headline: JAMB releases 2026 UTME mop-up result. Yes, still taking headlines, and now to the Punch, where we have 9 poster plans digital postcodes for every building in Nigeria. Now the details. The Nigerian Postal Service has reaffirmed its commitment to implementing a national digital postcode system to assign a unique digital address to every addressable building across the country. Speaking on the unveiling of the postcode declination mode of validation 2026 in Abuja on Monday night, the Postmaster General and Chief Executive Officer of 9 Post, Tola Odeyemi, said the initiative would establish a machine-readable standard location address framework for building nationwide. She explained that the project would place Nigeria among the first countries in Africa to develop a postcode system down to its unit level, ensuring that each standard building is assigned a unique code. According to her, she explained that the project would place Nigeria among the first countries in Africa to develop a postcode. According to her, the digital postcode system is expected to enhance service delivery, logistic operations, emergency response, and national planning by improving the identification of locations across the country. Odeyemi noted that the diversity of Nigerian geographic necessitated different approaches to addressing mapping and postcode allocation. She said the postcode delineation process was designed to ensure that postcode boundaries align with existing administrative structure and do not overlap local government boundaries. The NIPOST boss further explained that the validation exercise involves testing mapping against actual settlement patterns and geographical realities in different parts of the country. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Punch newspaper with this headline: 9 Post plans digital postcode for every building in Nigeria. Yes, and that brings us to the end of today's edition of In the Papers. Thank you for staying with us. Of course, we believe you've been able to join in with us as we preview and review the headlines and making wave in today's newspaper. Do join us again for another edition of In the Papers tomorrow by 9 a.m. It promises to be educative and informative as always. I am Florence Ibhareman, and this has been In the Papers, your daily guide for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Do have a productive and pleasant day ahead. Don't forget to stay safe, stay informed, and keep reading beyond the headlines. Good morning.